Hello, good morning and welcome back to the Arcane Forge. My name's Josh. Today we're going to be embarking on day 2 of Drawtober. Today's prompt is Grace. I'll make sure to leave a link down below in my description box to a copy of my random prompt list. Sorry, I got distracted there by a phone call. I'll leave a link down below in my description box to a copy of my randomly generated prompt list. So you can have a think about the next 31 days if you want to join me in some drawing while I embark on this challenge. 31 days of non-digital drawing, and I'm using inks for this. So let's get started today with Grace. Just as a heads up, Myrtle, my little pup, was a little bit lonesome, so she is sitting with me in my little recording booth today, and she can get quite noisy sometimes, so if you hear some little snuffling and grumbling, I'm going to try and cut some of that out in my audio editing, but you might still hear some little snuffles and things like that, so that's just Myrtle. But yeah, so I'm embarking on the word grace here. I initially thought grace kind of summoned thoughts of kind of like divinity and, you know, sort of paladins, clerics, that kind of thing. But looking later down in the list here of words, I felt like kind of doing something paladin-y or cleric-y for some of the later things, and I didn't really want to cover the same ground over and over again. So I thought alternatively to think of the word grace as like graceful, gracefulness, elegance, that kind of thing, and that immediately conjures to me the idea of elves, who are, in my mind, naturally elegant and graceful and beautiful no matter what they do, like effortlessly graceful. And rather than just drawing a kind of static elf, I've always liked the idea of different species, because they have different cultures and stuff like that in D&D, having their own classes, you know, or at least, you know, if you are from a totally different background, maybe like, you know, rogue and paladin and all this kind of stuff are what we meta call those things, and in-game different species with different backgrounds might call them different stuff, you know. I remember in a first edition campaign that I played, there was a character, one of the player characters played a class called a Blade Dancer, and I've never really been able to get rid of that idea from my head. I've always wanted to make a kind of Blade Dancer class of its own, but I figured that's what you could call like an elven fighter or an elven rogue or monk or something like that, even if I didn't homebrew this kind of specific class for what I kind of have in mind when I picture the phrase Blade Dancer. So I thought, you know, being extra elegant and extra graceful, an elf who is also a blade dancer, I felt like that was a really good idea. So I kind of googled some images of people doing ballet and stuff like that to find graceful movements, because I like to draw people using kind of three-dimensional shapes, which gives me a good visual on kind of like proportions and things like that. And it does help me to put people in interesting poses, but I am a terrible dancer myself. I'm absolutely god-awful. Always have been. I'm a very, very anxious and very nervous person. When I was a kid, I absolutely loved dancing. I totally, totally loved it. I remember going to a school dance, and I would just absolutely, you know how kids dance, like just absolutely flailing around all over the place, just going absolutely nuts. I remember going to a school dance, and I was just having an absolute blast. And a bunch of people from like a couple of years above just started laughing at me so much, and I think I never really got rid of that kind of fear after that. It was just like kind of the realization that it's like, oh, people can see me and I can be embarrassed of this. So now the idea of dancing gives me like a massive panic. At a friend's wedding a couple of years ago, I had like a panic attack. My wife was one of the bridesmaids, and we were expected to go up on, you know, not the first dance, but like straight after the first dance, and I just crumbled. I was hyperventilating, I, you know, was sweating uncontrollably. I felt like I was going to pass out at just the concept of dancing, because people could see me. So it's weird. I feel I'm absolutely fine talking to people, public speaking, absolutely fine. I know a lot of people have problems with that. fine making a fool of myself, just for some reason never been able to shake a fear of dancing. So I have no idea how to dance at all, and I had to look up images online of what a graceful dance might look like to get ideas for poses and hand movements and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I'm really happy with the pose that I came up with here. Interesting enough, my own first dance was really nice. We had a very, very relaxed wedding. I really don't like kind of pomp and ceremony and tradition. I really dislike tradition. I'm quite a big believer in tradition is just peer pressure from dead people. So, you know, my wife and I walked each other down the aisle. She didn't take my surname. We actually changed both of our surnames to a new surname that fit us both, because I didn't really like the idea of her becoming my property or anything like that. It's fine if that's what you guys prefer. If you have a cool surname, for sure, you should, you know, totally use a cool surname if you get married and stuff. But we just wanted to make our own kind of things. And my own first dance was kind of in this vein. I just kind of got up and told everybody I get really nervous of people looking at me, so come and join in, and we got everybody in, and we had a big ceilidh dance actually to start off with. A ceilidh dance is a Scottish tradition. For those who don't know, although I am English, my wife is Scottish, we live in Scotland, and a ceilidh dance is basically like an organised mosh pit. There's lots of very specific dances, and you tend to have a ceilidh caller, someone who will tell you kind of like what steps to do next and stuff like that, and it's absolutely great fun. So that's what we did kind of instead of a first dance, I guess. And because everyone there was friends and family, we kept it relatively small, or as small as we could. Everyone there knew about how nervous I was of dancing and stuff. And so the onus wasn't on me to be like looked at while we were dancing. And it was nice, it was really relaxed and stuff like that. But yeah, that is one of my fondest days ever, and I will look back on it forever and be able to sort of drink in little moments of it to, if I ever get sort of depressed or anxious or anything like that, I can just sort of take a little nugget of that day, remember how I felt. It always makes me feel a little bit better. And part of that was having so many wonderful, caring people around to help me with my phobia of dancing, I guess. But as per usual, I've gone quite off topic. I've always wanted to make a blade dancer class, and for me, elves are magical creatures. I want to include certain features in it. One of the things I really loved about sort of first edition was the cleave mechanic, which went away fairly recently. And it was really stupid. The idea of the cleave mechanic was if you, oh god, was it hit or defeated someone? I can't remember which one it was. I'm thinking it's defeated, but let's say you hit and you damage someone with a sword, right? Maybe it's just a hit, maybe it's defeated. Whatever it is, you meet the requirements for the cleave mechanic in earlier editions of D&D. If you did that, you could then roll to hit someone who was within, I think it was 5 or 10 feet of you. So your turn didn't end. You could essentially, potentially, chain from person to person to person. And this kind of brought on the joke that fighters have teleportation magic, because if each round lasts like 6 or 7 seconds, then a fighter is somehow managing to potentially, let's say if you're fighting minions or whatever, strike like 10 different people who are potentially 10 feet away from each other in a single round. So moving faster than the eye can blink and all this kind of stuff. It's very anime, I guess. And I wanted to incorporate that into a kind of blade dancer, so I think that's what I'm going to do at some point. It's one of the classes that or subclasses, maybe it will be a fighter thing or a rogue thing, I'm not sure. I'll see what works best, but it's one of the things that I've been desperate to make, but I really want to do it right. I have a vision in my head for how it would work, and I don't want to half-ass it, I really want to think it through. So at some point I'll deliver a homebrew of a blade dancer, but in the meantime, this has been day 2, and Grace, my graceful blade dancer here. I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you enjoyed this illustration, and if you drew the word Grace alongside me today, I hope you came up with something really fun. And if you did, make sure to share that with me, and hopefully I can share it with the community at some point. In the meantime though, I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for day 3 with the word pole. I'll have a little think about what I can come up with for the word pole. Hopefully no more dancing. Don't think that would get through YouTube's algorithm without being flagged. But yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.